These are my roommates and my friend Caitlin. They're gonna be my audience.
I give this one.
Hi, my name is Nathan Barton, and I'm gonna be giving a speech about Ecuadorian culture. Even though I may not look like it, I grew up in Ecuador, lived there for 5 years. I moved there when I was 4 because my parents are missionaries. My mom's a pediatrician and my dad's an anesthesiologist. My mom worked at the local orphanage called Casa de Fe, and she helped out there with her pediatric skills. And my dad worked at a local hospital with his anesthesiology skills, was able to help him out with that. We were sent there by a company called MTW, Mission to the World. Lived there for 5 years in total. Ecuadorian culture is a rich blend of indigenous Amazonian tribes, Spanish colonialism, and modern practices that make it a really interesting place to live and learn about. It's important to learn about it because understanding Ecuadorian culture can help us understand global culture as a whole and where people come from. And also in this speech I'll be talking about the different tribes like the Waorani and the Quechua tribe, the food there, and also how the Amazon jungle kind of affects the culture as a whole. So to start off, the indigenous people, that's what I'm going to talk about first. So this is a tapestry of the Quechua women and their common, what they're kind of doing. They're making pottery, as you can see. This is kind of what they usually would wear. They wear their Panama hats and a poncho. They braid their hair like that, maybe doing pottery. They're from the northern part of Ecuador and live in the mountains near Quito, which is where the name comes from, Quechua. And they're a big part of that. Another tribe is called the Waorani tribe. They live more out in the jungle, and they live more in the Amazon jungle. And they're a tribe that originally the mission that started in Ecuador was to reach the Waorani tribe and bring the gospel to them. And that's where the mission in Ecuador started. They would use a local airstrip to fly out to them and try and preach the gospel to them. So yeah, those are the two tribes that I know a lot about, and they're really interesting. The food in Ecuador is very interesting. It's very, there's some Hispanic influence. There's also some indigenous people influence. So one thing that's more indigenous is a dish called cuy, which is guinea pig. There's just guinea pigs and they put them on a skewer and they cook them over a fire, and that's lunch. I hear it tastes like chicken. I personally never tried them, but I hear it was good. Another thing they do is they would also sometimes another food they would eat is they'd eat the fish whole. It's a kind of a South American thing where they just, instead of filleting the fish and cutting out the fish, they just fry the fish as a whole, and the person who's eating it picks it apart. Also, arroz con pollo, it's a common dish there. It's a common dish in a lot of places, but it's also common there. That's another thing they eat. It's just rice and chicken with some seasoning on it. So the jungle is a big influence on Ecuadorian culture. It's a lot where a lot of the tribes came from. They came from the jungle, and some of them live in the city, some of them still live out in the jungle. So it's a weird mix of modern influences of modern influences of modern culture and modern practices that kind of mix with the indigenous tribes, because some of them that live far out in the jungle and they never have any contact with anyone besides their own tribe, and sometimes people go back and forth. So it's a lot of kind of mix of traditional values and respecting nature and being part of the jungle, and also coming back and kind of going to the new world. So it's a big part of their kind of cultures. They're trying to preserve the jungle as much as they can, but they also don't want to completely fall behind and go and be uncontactable. So that's basically it. Growing up in Ecuador had a really huge impact on my life, and I hope that I was able to convey that to you by talking about the people, the food, and then the jungle. Thank you. So yeah. We're still here.